All right. We're recording. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh. So we're gathered here this morning without Maddie. That's okay. And we're going to go ahead and do Mothers or Feeders, Chapter 4, Power of Motherhood. I have the old copy. Y'all following along at home. I don't know what you have. New copies, old copies. So this chapter was really great. I actually really love this chapter. She starts off by talking about how so many mothers hate cooking for their families. I like to bake. I like to make cookies. Of course, everybody knows that. And cheesecake and cake and anything that's dessert. I love baking. Love, love, love. Cooking, I'm not good at it. I never really learned how, and it's hard to love it. But, and this is going to be a big part of the topic here. You know, there's something very satisfying about cooking something that you know is good for your family. So even while I'm doing it, I'm not exactly enjoying it. So for example, last night I made Asian lettuce wraps, and I had to like mix these things into the turkey and then cook it. And then there's 8 of us, and most of us are big eaters now. So, it was so much prep, shredding carrots and slicing bell peppers and radishes and green onions, and I had to make a sauce, and I had to cook a pot of rice, and that's actually the part that is least satisfying for me, is prepping the veggies. That's the hard part for me. Probably a lot of that is because I actually don't know how to do it well. I'm not good at knife stuff.
So we need to tell Dave to get you some sous chef classes.
Yeah.
Go have a day drinking wine with some fancy chef telling you how to.
Yeah, he'd say, go watch a YouTube video. Which that'd be fine, but just add it into my day. Like, when am I going to find time to learn that? I'm learning other stuff, like every crazy conspiracy theory on the planet. Okay,
I wasn't going to say that, but you seem to have a lot of free time to look up a lot of crazy stuff. It's cool. Home ec, boom. You and Charlotte get in the kitchen with your iPad, tablet, and work on cutting. And I don't mind cooking when I'm inspired to cook. I hate cooking when it's like 4:00 and my plan for dinner now, a certain person in my house doesn't want to eat, and they're like, oh, well, let's have this instead, and I didn't want to make that. Like,
yeah.
No, I had a plan, and I was,
Yes, that's hard.
And Nick really likes cooking, so a lot of times he does the cooking because he likes it, and he wants to make, like, fancy stuff. Like, I just need a protein and some vegetable and, whatever I can throw in there, and I'm good.
Yes, that's actually very similar to over here. Dave will do we're going to have tri-tip and mushroom risotto and, this and that. And when it's my day to cook, I'm like, I'm going to roast a chicken and cook some frozen veggies. Oh, and the kids need rice. Okay.
Yeah.
Done. Because food's just not like this big thing to me. But it is important for me that we don't eat garbage.
Right.
I mean, the occasional garbage is fine, but no, I don't want sick people in the house all the time.
Yeah.
So anyhow, she opened with talking about preparing and cooking meals for our families. And the little section in the middle, even Jesus loved to cook. This is taken from John chapter 21. And in summary, Christ had been crucified, died, 3 days had gone by, he rose again, and then there was a period of time there where he was appearing to the disciples here and there, the apostles, I should say, and this was one of those moments. So these guys had been on the lake trying to fish through the night and hadn't really caught anything. Sun's coming up. They can see somebody on the shore. They're not sure who it is. And then they figure out it's Jesus. And he says, throw that net over this side of the boat. And they do. And of course, it's the biggest, it's so much that they can barely get it out of the boat. And when they got to the shore, Jesus had started a fire and was cooking for them. He had fish and bread, and he had prepared it for them, and he served them. And her point here with this story is that if Christ himself, after he had gone through what he had gone through, thought that it was important and a good idea to prepare something fresh and nourishing for his people, how much more should we also believe that about nourishing our families?
Yeah. I know.
And quite frankly, that's kind of like, if you can't say amen, you better say ouch, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and I remember one time we did this study, I had a friend take great offense to this. It actually, great offense, huge offense. It was very, it made her angry. I'm not going to stand around the kitchen and serve my family. I'm not the maid. Jesus loves me too. Da 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 da. And but like that kind of a mindset misses the point. Like this is God made you the woman. God made you the mother. God made you the manager of your home. God made you with the body parts to feed people and birth people, and so it's kind of the role we've been handed, and it's up to us to do our job. I don't know how else to say it. Go do your job. And not only do your job, sure, we can drive through McDonald's 3 times a day and do our job and feed our family, but that's not at all how God wants us working. He wants us doing our best with what we've been given. And it's not only with feeding our families, but it's with everything. He wants us to do our best with what we've been given.
Well, and I think it's easy to get sidetracked too, to be like, oh no, it's much better if I'm just happy and I got to read my book today than, I took those 2 hours to get dinner ready and started on time. So we eat at a normal hour and, everyone's their bellies are full. Like, no, I need to read this book on how to be a happier wife instead of just going and serving a hot dinner. Sometimes I think I get distracted and I miss that is the point, because it doesn't feel like the point. It feels like the mundane, crappy job that nobody gives a crap about, and I don't want to do it.
Yes.
And I guess that is the job.
It is, yes. And that's also really the easiest pit for us to fall into. oh, I'm underappreciated and I'm not paid and everybody's just a jerk anyway. And why do I even bother with this? And bleh, you know, that's,
Uh-huh.
that's the easiest pit to fall into.
Well, and thinking like, oh, well, if I read this recipe book or if I cooked like the pioneer woman, then, this would be better and I would enjoy it more. And sometimes you forget that you just got to do it. And once you do it enough, maybe you'll start to enjoy it or maybe you won't. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to enjoy it, but I can still do it, right?
Well, okay, last night was a really good example because nobody helped me last night. Oftentimes, I've got big kids now, so oftentimes, kids get out there and help. They'll prep this, they'll prep that, whatever. Last night, it was just me, and it was a lot. It was a lot, and it took a long time. And, it was an hour later, and I'm still shredding carrots, and I was like, oh my gosh, why? Do you know? Everybody at that table, they were so happy. They were like, Mom, we haven't had this in so long. This is so good. This is my favorite dinner. Why don't we have this more often? I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm looking at what's on the table, and there's not a single bit of sugar, 0.
Mm-hmm.
And it was seriously like 80% raw vegetables. And I thought, yeah, it was totally worth it. And no, it being worth it didn't make me enjoy it anymore. But it makes me more willing. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I turned the page. Let's see. Food prepares the way for higher things. That section was all about how can we be fed spiritually if we're hungry? And her first line here, Jesus knew how important it was to feed people physically before speaking to their spirit. And she gets into the family meal table. And she gives some statistics on how many families don't eat dinner as a family, or if they do eat dinner as a family, maybe it's with a TV tray in front of the TV, or everybody kind of grabs their food and like disperses through the house and goes their own way.
I wonder how many people nowadays, I feel like nowadays it's how many people eat dinner together without their phones. We don't even all sit in front of a TV anymore. I feel like people have recognized how distracting and disruptive TVs can be, especially in their children if they just sit and watch TV all day. But now us parents have taken to being on our phones and reading other people's thoughts and opinions, which doesn't feel as TV-like, but I think it's probably having the same effect. Like, I don't know how many times I catch myself on my phone, or I go to say something to my husband and he's on his phone and how angry I am. Like, really? You've had it all day. Can we just have an hour?
Right. Yeah, and in a way, the phones are even worse, aren't they? Because like you said, we're like, well, it's not like wasting time watching TV. I'm
learning,
involving myself in this person's life who I love so much. But no, you're really just kind of being a busybody. Like, turn off and go take care of your crap. Yeah, I'm guilty.
A new version of soap operas, right? Like, hey, and I don't know if you do that, but it's like, or then your dinner table conversations revolve around it. Like, hey, did you know so-and-so is blah, 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 and they're doing this, or they went here and that and this, and it's like, you don't have meaningful conversations anymore. It's all gossipy. It's like our own reality soap opera.
So what do you do around the table to try to create a meaningful conversation?
So for a while there, we haven't done it in a while, but for a while there, we were trying to talk about what the highlight of our day was and what the low point of our day was, because otherwise we won't talk about much, or Jacob will just go on tangents and talk the whole hour and nobody else will get a word in.
Okay, so we do something very similar, and I'm not consistent, but Yeah, I'll just ask an open-ended question like, okay, we're gonna go around the table, and what was the funniest thing you saw today? Or what was the hardest thing you did in school with your schoolwork today? Or whatever, like some random question. Who was your favorite sibling today? That's always a fun one. Or the opposite. Who made you the maddest today? Well, sometimes we're still trying to heal wounds that happened through the day,
Yeah, for sure.
And so if we're all around the table and they're staring at each other, that actually is usually a pretty good way to get it solved before bedtime.
Or then they're like, oh, no, I'm not that mad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess it's not that big of a deal. I don't want to talk about it right now.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we were trying to do stuff like that. We need to get better at it.
So how often does your family come together for dinner at the table? Every night?
Well, I mean, if you're not considering a table, a lot of times we'll feed the kids at the bar in the kitchen, and I'll sit at the table right behind them, and Nichols, like, he eats in the kitchen.
Okay.
We're all in the same room, but we don't really sit.
Okay.
I'd say we do that at least 4 or 5 nights a week. We're not the best at cooking every night of the week.
Right.
A lot of times we'll go out and grab something. So.
Okay.
But when we do eat together, most times dinner, we usually eat together. Now, like breakfast and lunch, that's different stories, because sometimes they eat at a different time than I do, or the kids have been up and they wanted to eat first and I wasn't ready. So, and they're old enough to cook themselves now, so.
Right.
They're kind of on their own.
Right. Okay, the next little section, she talked about setting the table, which that for me goes hand in hand with preparing vegetables. I'm like, what? So, but it's true. A lot of people, when they get served a plate of food, they think it's really great if it looks pretty. Things are arranged and colors and textures and okay.
Yeah.
I'm married to one of those people.
So am I.
And I think food is just food. You're hungry. Let's fill the hole now. And I'm kind of a person. Yeah. Here's your dinner.
Yeah.
And so when I read this section, my initial response is to make fun of it, or because I don't want to do it. Like I'm like, I'm not going to make the table, and I'm not going to do this. And do you know, Charlotte, when we were talking about this last week in my house, Charlotte was like, Mom, that would be so nice. We could do this and we could do that. And I said, you're in charge, because I'm old now. I'm old, and I thought, oh man, okay. But I should be providing the opportunity for her to learn this thing, because, every magazine article or picture I've ever seen from dinner tables from generations past, these ladies they took that very seriously. They would have tablecloths and proper place setting.
Frivolous, though. That's my problem with it. It's like, I'm not going to go spend, and especially because Nick built me a ginormous table. So I guess I should probably clean off the other end that has all the school stuff, because we don't even sit at that end, okay? Like, it's a 10 and could be a 12-person table. And I'm like, do you know how much money it would cost me to get a tablecloth? Because I think I would have to custom make it, because I'm not even sure if they make that size, because he just built it to what I wanted.
Right.
Like, it just seems like such a waste of money. It's terrible. But then my husband, he'll be like, oh, babe, you should decorate our house. And I'm like, what? Like, why? Like, I don't care if there's a piece of art. I don't want to spend $40. Like, I don't want to have a foo-foo tablecloth with cloth napkins and a table runner. Like, I'm very minimalist in that way. Like, what purpose is it serving? Just because it looks pretty, that seems dumb. Like, I'm really mean like that. Like, Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I need to find a minimalist way to still decorate. Sometimes I try to have flowers, but that's mostly for me.
Well, and the point that she was making here was that you want it to be inviting. You want your family to be enticed to hang around. You know, this is the time of day we get to see each other's faces, not be distracted, and hang out with each other. And if you created a space that made it more appealing, then you're more likely to sit there and do that.
So you're not just supposed to eat and get your nutrients for the day and run off and try to get your chores done so you can watch your adult show and
Correct.
go to bed?
Correct.
That's
right.
Ouch moments, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I wonder what the statistics are now on how many families eat at the table every night together. Because
without phones. That's what I want to know. We should take a poll.
You
have lots of people. Instead of conspiracy stuff today, why don't you ask a good question?
I'll ask a poll. Okay. I'll do a poll.
You can make polls on your own.
I think so.
Can't you? Yes. But like, how many people eat dinner together every night, or maybe, I don't know how you want to do it. And then how many people eat dinner at the table without phones? Like, I want to know the two.
All right.
Maybe I'll do the same thing and we'll compare our results.
All right. God loves to feed his people too. And then she gives a whole bunch of scripture. Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, prepares the table before me. It's a big theme. God feeding us is a big theme in the Bible. All right.
Think about it. Like when you want to go on a date night with your husband, I feel like 9 times out of 10 it's around dinner. Like, why is that? Why do you want to go have a nice quiet dinner with your husband? There's got to be something to it, I think sometimes we're just not intentional with it, you know? We're just doing it to get through the motions of the day, but like when you want to connect with somebody, it's like, hey, why don't we go to dinner? Hey, let's go grab lunch. Like, I don't know. You're not like, hey, let's go to a movie or let's go, I don't know. So I guess there's something in that like sitting down and having a meal and talking, you want when you do want to connect with people.
Isn't that funny that we make that connection for going out with a special person, but we disconnect with our own people in our own house?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, isn't that crazy? Because I'm thinking about it now. Like, how many people come to the Leche League meetings because they want to go out afterwards?
Right.
That's why those people are coming, especially like your regulars. You get the people who need help. Yeah. But all the regular people are coming to hang out afterwards.
Right.
If that didn't happen, I wonder how many people would keep coming.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so the next section was called Good Pastures. And it's about junk food and how we might as well just eat the cardboard box and not the cereal in it because there's more nutritional value in the box.
Yeah, I gotta get back there again. It's
nutritious, full of blessing. He does not serve us junk food or a hashed up meal from cans. Hang on, let me get there. Make your kitchen a nourishing place where you provide good and healthy pasture for your family. Many mothers complain to me that their children do not want to eat wholesome foods. They prefer white bread to whole wheat bread, packaged cereals to unrefined, sweets to vegetables. The best way to remedy this is to eliminate them from your cupboards and your fridge. Remember, you have the high calling to nourish your family.
You know, but other people are on different paths. I don't know. I could see how that would piss me off if I wasn't there yet. Like, just try to make it a point every day to, even if you're going to eat your McDonald's, wait until you get home at the table, okay? Like, sit down together and eat a meal, and then work on it from there. Maybe next time you make burgers at home, and then the other 6 days you go back to Wendy's. I don't know. Like, you'll get there, but, like, I don't think that that's the main point. I feel like there's plenty of people out there who can eat McDonald's every day and still sit down and enjoy each other, and they're probably way happier than that wife who's nagging her husband, but they ate, you know, a grass-fed steak with some potatoes and green beans, and, you know, she was just mean and nasty about it. So, yes, I do think that you need to get there. And I also think that if anybody is trying to figure out that part, like maybe you're on that journey of like, where do I start? I know for me, when I did the Whole30, it really changed my way that I thought of food. And like now I'm more like you in that I see it as, what is my body going to get from this? Like, oh, I want to go on a hike today. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. Well, I know I need to fuel my body in such a way. Like, oh, today's going to be a lazy day. Well, maybe I'm not going to, you know, eat a bunch of pasta. But
Right.
maybe another day I'm going to, because I have a busy day and it'll be fine, you know. So, but I think the Whole30 changed the way I see and think about food. But that took years to get there.
Yeah.
And now we're completely back in the pits of bad eating again. And, you know, I'll try and get there. We'll see.
I was going to say, too, that I've seen you know, we're talking about the people who fast food it every day. I've seen the opposite end of this spectrum, too, where some of the women I know have made some startling discovery about certain types of foods, and they just shut it down, you know, and instituted these very rigorous rules on what they will eat, what they won't eat, you know, no, we're not eating this, no, we're not eating that, nope, 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 nope. And while I firmly believe that these ladies for sure were doing it in the name of doing the best that they can for their families, what I also was seeing is blowback. Unhappy husbands.
Yeah, like, and that, you got to take that into account too, and kind of be flexible in your, unless it's like a true allergy. Like, I'm gonna die if I eat this, like I can't, like, no. Or like, I'm gonna be awfully and horribly miserable pain, like I really can't. But I feel like that can't be that much of an ingredient. That doesn't mean that you can't have dinner with your parents or, you know, your mother-in-laws, and like, you got to find that balance. You need balance. So if you're gonna swing all the way this high about food, you know, you got to kind of bring it back. Otherwise, you're going to be crazy and psychotic, and the health that you are reaping from your food, you're going to lose because you're miserable and fighting and arguing all the time. That's just as unhealthy as just going to McDonald's and eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
This is that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. All right, the very last section was, I love preparing meals. Make this your confession. Instead of confessing that you hate cooking, Sherry, confess that you love it. Enjoy your nourishing ministry. Not only your family, but also the survival of the generations depends on this ministry. The health of your children will affect the next generation, and that's true. The way you feed your children will be the way they feed their children. Your habits will pass on to the next generation. Create in your children the joy of cooking too. There's a special atmosphere about preparing a meal. The aroma of the meal fills the home. Family members are drawn to the delightful smells and want to have a hand in stirring and tasting. It is a time to talk, fellowship, and enjoy one another. The atmosphere of preparing each evening meal is important too. It is as special as eating the meal itself. We may, a little poem here, we may live, if we must, without music and art. We may live without much that is dear to the heart. We might even live without many books, but no man can live for long without cooks. That was cute. All right, let's do the questions. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Rapid fire. Why do you think it is important for all the family to sit down together for the evening meal?
It might be the only time that you get to. Like, it seems to be the easiest and the least distractible time to, you know, learn about each other and talk with each other. And and
Exactly.
smile and be. I think it's just the easiest time to be intentional with your actions and your words and whatnot.
Agreed. Everybody gets to stop, take a breath, and reconnect.
Yeah, and it's not too long, you know. What is a meal? Like, if you just sit and eat, and even if it's pleasant, what do you linger? Maybe 45 minutes?
Yeah.
It's not that much time, and it's probably time well spent.
All right. Give reasons why you think it would be important to have a set time each day for the evening meal.
I mean, it gives you something to look forward to. So maybe when you're all chaotic and stressed out and been running around all day and feeling guilty because you haven't talked to your husband yet or seen them or your children, like, you know that they're, oh, well, I know at 5:30 we're going to sit down for dinner and we can all just reconnect with each other.
Yeah, we don't have a set time, and I looked at that and I thought, why? Who cares? Like, we just cook dinner and then it's ready. But no, having a set time would actually be cool because it would make you think ahead, and not think ahead for preparing. I mean, we have to do that anyway, but everybody would be thinking ahead through their day, like, oh, I got to get this done because at this time I set it aside for my family. I think that would actually be kind of a cool mindset to instill. I want to try that out.
Well,
that's a goal for me.
And I think too that, like, you know, maybe your kids, maybe your son have read something really awesome in his schoolwork, because I know a lot of your kids probably work independently now, and maybe he really want to talk to you about it, but he keeps trying to talk to you about it when you're potty training the toddler, or
Yeah.
you're nursing the screaming baby, or you're trying to get your laundry done. I mean, you can talk during laundry, but you get my point. So maybe if they knew, like, hey, I did try to talk to mom, but mom's really busy and doesn't have time right now. I know that at dinner time, I can tell mom and dad.
Check your speaker and see if there's something over it.
Why am I quiet?
I can hear you, but you're just quieter than you were. There you go. Are you there? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Yes. All right, number 3. God says he will feed his people good pasture. How does this relate to us in a practical way? And we talked about that. Baby steps. You nailed it, Sherry. Baby steps, baby steps. We can't go all renegade. We just can't. So wherever you're at, think of the next 5 steps and do them one at a time.
Just do the best you can with what you have. If, you know, all you have is the fact that you can bring it home and eat together, or, you know, you're making top ramen at home, but maybe you can add a hard-boiled egg or some vegetables into it, like something. Like, just meet yourself, do the best you can, because not everybody's there, and dinner time might not work for everybody else too, but maybe you could all get together for breakfast. I think is the point, is to be flexible and to get the point and not get stuck on this. Well, she said that white bread is crap, but I can't afford whole wheat, and so F her, and I'm not listening anymore.
Right, yeah.
That's the point. And you'll get there, and maybe you won't. Like, that's fine.
Yes, absolutely. What steps can you take to prepare more nutritious meals for your family?
I need to meal plan.
We do that.
When we eat out, it's because we didn't plan anything for dinner. Like, Nick is in the city today, and I'm not even sure that I have anything, because we just got back from vacation and we've kind of been winging dinner because we got a grocery store finally, like 5 minutes from the house. But it's really expensive there, like stupidly, like $6 for a pound of butter.
Oh, wow.
And that's expensive for here, like ridiculously so. But we've been just going there and winging dinner. So I need to think about, I need to meal plan. And it's hard because I get too caught up in what everyone else wants to eat. Maybe I like this meal and they don't, and everyone's like, oh, well, fine, just pick something, which is fine. But my husband's not. You know, he likes to change it, so it's a little tricky. But I fall into that pitfall of, it's 4 o'clock. I didn't know I had pork chops in the freezer, and I didn't pull them out because I just now remembered, and oh shit. You know, so I need to, like, be more intentional about meal.
Yep. So we have a lot of the same problems here with picking, and so we kind of made it just a rule that we don't shop unless we have a list. And I can't make a list until I know what we're making. And so we kind of stare at each other on Friday night or Saturday night or even Sunday morning, and I'm like, okay, what do you want for dinner this week? Because you care more than I care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
and maybe you really saw this stupid recipe on Facebook that now you want to try, and I didn't even know you're thinking that. Like, he has a hard time thinking that far ahead, but I think that's just going to have to be a compromise. Like, we can't just keep winging it that day. Like,
right.
Our pantry can't support that at the moment, so
right.
I need to know what I'm buying.
Right. Yep. So that's been working out for us, trying to just get at least a game. And we've actually settled into, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights a week. They're just set in stone. Dave works a late shift on Saturday, so he's home late. And so we have breakfast for dinner Saturday night. Every Saturday, there's no question. Like, I don't have to ask. And Tuesday nights is kind of like our Taco Tuesday night. We usually do nachos, and Dave and I will do like a salad, but you know, that's kind of easy too. Oh, it's taco night. Oh, it's breakfast night. Yay, okay. And then that only leaves 5 more nights. What do you want to do, you know?
Yeah. It's just, I guess, having to, I don't even know how you would say that, but it's just hard when there's not one person in charge of it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be in charge, and I'm happy to shop for what you want to make. If you're going to be the cook, you need to tell me what to buy. I'll do the shopping. Like, I can't do the shopping for the meals that we say, and then it changes, and it's a mess. But yeah, it's so much easier when it's just me, because I just make meals, and it's fine. Like, I cook every night, not a big deal. There's no stress because this is what we're eating, like, the end. Like, I love children, but this is dinner, and if you don't want that, you better eat some celery out of the fridge, because I'm not making you something else.
Right. All right, what are some of the foodless foods that would be beneficial to throw out of your cupboards?
The foodless food?
I have Mrs. Butterworth's syrup in my cupboard right now.
Oh.
Well, we always use honey, and we had a family over for dinner a while ago. Now it's been a couple of months, I think. And they came over on breakfast night, and I make fresh ground wheat, like I grind my own wheat, and I make sourdough, like my fermented sourdough pancakes. That's what I make on Saturday nights. And we use honey. We don't use syrup. We use honey. So we had friends over for that night, and my children were like, Mom, you cannot feed them honey for their pancakes. We have to have real syrup. Like, they're not going to like that. And I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, like, that's kind of weird. So I ended up making a second batch of just honky white sugar, crappy, you know, like normal pancakes. You know, I had the stuff that we always eat, and then I had like more typical stuff. And so they conned me into buying this bottle of Mrs. Butterworth's syrup. And now every week they're like, please, can we use the syrup? And I'm like, no, you guys know, after it's going to sit in here for a few months, and then one day I'm just going to sneak it into the trash can, because that's what I'm going to do.
So did they pick the more typical stuff?
I think they did kind of some of each. Yeah, I think everybody kind of did some of each. But, you know, like, I don't buy juice or cereal, or like, there's just chips. We don't buy chips. That's a lie. I buy organic corn chips from Costco for nacho night. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I've fallen into this hummus trap, and like chips and hummus, and but like sometimes we're out of the house a lot now, and I have to pack lunches. So like, I do pack vegetables also, but you know, I don't know. My problem is eating out. I don't really keep unhealthy foods in the house. That's the problem. I'm not really shopping, but when I do shop, I do a good job, and I try to make the best choices I have in front of me.
Yeah.
But like, if I didn't shop, then we're eating wherever. Like, let's go get some Buffalo Wild Wings, whatever. Like,
yeah,
crap, doesn't matter.
We have those days too. Absolutely. All right, discuss. Yep.
Yep.
All right, discuss ways that you can make the atmosphere of preparing and eating evening meal together more delightful. Discuss how you can create a joy for cooking in your children.
I think I need to start seeing cooking as more of a skill. Like, I don't know. It's right now it's a chore, and I just want to get it done as quick as possible. It's kind of like training your children to do the stuff around the house right. It's a pain in the ass to watch them vacuum. Like, oh my God, you want to tear your hair out. But if you don't, they do an awful job and they don't move things, you know? And so you have to take that time to watch them and make them and redirect them and micromanage them. And it takes a week or two. And then it's good, right? Because then it's done right.
Yeah.
And I think I need to start seeing cooking in the same way. Because Jacob really enjoys cooking, and he's recently been making scrambled eggs and stuff like that. And it took a while, you know, to teach him, and he's burned himself a few times, but now he's good at it and he enjoys it, and it's good. So I don't know. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't have time for this. Like I just need to get the food made because we need to eat something. Like it's not enjoyable. I need to try and find the joy in it. Maybe put some music on and let them help. And when it takes me 2 hours longer, I need to remember I'm sowing seeds, you know?
Yep. Yep. I think the big point there is we need to include them.
Yeah, you need to let them help, and that means you have to allot enough time to let them help.
Yeah.
Because my children all want to help, and they all want to help at the same time, and sometimes there's not enough jobs, and then you got to pick one, and I probably should just make one. I should meal plan, and when I do, I need to make a helper for that meal, because I'm sure there's more meals that are catered to toddlers helping than, you know, something that needs all these vegetables diced. Like maybe you're not going to let your 3-year-old help, but maybe your 7-year-old would be perfect for that job, you know, and assign a helper. So that'd probably be a great idea.
I agree. All right, last but not least, we've learned that the habits we establish in feeding our children will be what they do when they have their families. Discuss the effect on the next generation of the habit of constantly going to fast food places to eat. Do we have to discuss that?
Yeah, I think I really need to change it. I don't know. My children are going to grow up knowing that their mom hated to cook, and I don't know how that's going to be when they're married. You know, I need to work on it. And maybe that doesn't mean I love it. Maybe they can see, like, me trying. I don't, you know?
Yeah.
David, that's probably more important than me changing into this person who's Betty freaking Crocker and has her table all set like Martha Stewart and serves meals in high heels. Okay, like it's never gonna happen, but I could probably be more intentional about having dinners, and when we do, trying to have better conversations, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Here, like it might not be perfect in a magazine, but it can be better to where it's like a good memory, not like, oh yeah, mom hated to cook, so we ate out a lot.
I think the word you used earlier was perfect. Be more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a perfect word for it. Intentional about what it is, about how it goes about, and about, you know, getting your family having that togetherness at the end of the day.
And wanting to have that togetherness.
Yeah.
That's hard too. Like I've just seen you all day long, and my husband works from home, so I see him all day long.
Yeah.
I need to we got to find some kind of a way to make dinner time. Like, yeah, I want to sit down and have dinner and do that with you. So lots of stuff to think about.
You can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just have to think about it. I got to find the time to be intentional.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me.
Sure.
Next week, Mothers or Servants, you and I, and hopefully Maggie. And I like that chapter too. I like a lot of these chapters. Oh, and look, that one's only 1 page.
Oh,
Excellent. That's even more exciting.
Yeah.
That's going to get, that's going to be hard on the heart, though. It's hard to think of ourselves as servants all the time. So I'm looking forward to that next week.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All right, Sherry, I'm going to stop this recording, and thank you so much. And I enjoy talking to you every week.